All right, as we now journey upon the rest of our agenda, we are now on agenda item number 4 for those of you that have the agenda in front of you. And this is appearances before the board by members of the public. I have asked Dr. Adams to attend our meeting tonight to discuss a few measures that he discussed at the last SAB meeting. So at this time, I guess I should hand you. We will go ahead and get started with this presentation.
President Jones, I'll wait until your full meeting. You don't have to change it for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
All right, we will move that down on our agenda, so thank you very much, Dr. Adams, for that. We will now move on to agenda item number 5, the approval and adoption of the May 9th, 2017 board meeting agenda. Mr. Haas.
Just for clarification, there are no other appearances before the board, and we've moved Dr. Adams lower on the agenda, later on the agenda.
So at this time, we can choose to move that, well, I was moving that entire section to the bottom, but we can do it at the beginning if you so choose to.
One more time.
We can do the other members of the public right now if you guys, that's something you want to do.
You're the boss.
If there are any questions or comments by the public outside of Dr. Adams that would like to make any comments at this time, please go ahead and come up to the mic. And we have Mr. Bill Monroe.
Good evening,
Good evening.
and congratulations to the new members of the board. You have an awesome task before you, and I'd only ask you to be cautious, please, because you are the stewards of the people's confidence. And behind closed door meetings, underground meetings, secret meetings, I'm gonna say it real bluntly, that ain't what you're elected for. So, but I once again want to say congratulations. You got a huge job in front of you. And I also wanted to let you know that there are some of you, and I think Ms. Vowell had the courage that know that Bill Monroe has sought the occupancy of a building at 4100 Goodfellow, the old Army Center, ROTC Center, and as a design homeless shelter for children going to high school. We've all heard the recent numbers that are before us about the homeless situation, and about 4,000 or 5,000 children, school-aged children, who are homeless. We see the lack of leadership in our community when Reverend Rice, the only center I know of, closed down, and the city closed it down with no real plan. And you as a board can do a lot of things in behalf of our children. But I want you to know that my efforts to open that building is still ongoing. As of Monday, I filed a lawsuit against Donald Trump, Betsy DeVos, HUD, and their whole GSA complex for that building. Our children need a place to be. And the only thing that we can do is fight for our children. And I pass it on to you, and I hope that as I go further, even in that court case that I'm about to face, that the St. Louis Public School realizes the need for a homeless shelter, a dormitory to help our children, black children. And I ask again, and I've said it many times, what is the color of money north of the Delmore Divide? Let's not leave our children out in the cold. And I thank you, and good luck, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe. We now have Mr. David Jackson.
Good evening to the elected board, and welcome to the educational assistant to the 2 new board members. Last month, I submitted to the board an inquiry as to some schools that were unaccredited within the district. There was 11 of those schools, but there was also a total of about another 9 schools that are on the verge of being unaccredited. I thank the president of the board, Susan Jones, who made an inquiry to the superintendent for the response. And I don't know if all of you received that response, but Dr. Adams stated that as it relates to the 11 schools that are shown as being unaccredited, St. Louis Public Schools did their own audit and deemed certain schools as unaccredited as an incentive for schools to do better. The state itself does not accredit schools, only district as a whole. Dr. Adams stated that they use guidelines to identify schools that are doing poorly. In response to that, I'm sending another request through your president, and I have copies for all of you, where I thank you so very much for the response to the inquiry. And those 11 schools identified was Lone Middle, Beaumont High, Sumner High, Vashon High, Carr Lane Middle, Gateway Middle, Langston Middle, Lime Blow Elementary, Melanthi Elementary, Nance Elementary, and Peabody Elementary. The additional 9 schools that have been identified are scoring between 51 and 57%, and 50% is passing, was Ashland, Ames, Clay, Columbia, Herzog, Roosevelt, Yateman, Washington, Montessori, and Woodard. We are fully aware that currently DESE accredited school districts wholly and not by individual buildings. However, in April of this year, the Missouri Senate passed a bill, which is now in the House, which would create a change in the accreditation process that would require DESE to revamp the way it evaluates districts and schools, mainly to allow children in unaccredited school buildings to transfer to an accredited school building within that district. Our concern is DESE Title I funding is tied to AYP and the Federal Department of Education that requires states to establish a timeline for adequate yearly progress. DESE makes provisions for schools that do not demonstrate adequate yearly progress. Those that do not meet AYP for 2 years in a row are identified as schools in need of improvement and subject to immediate interventions by DESE. First steps include technical assistance, then more serious corrective actions, which occur if the school fails to make AYP. I'm concerned that if a school fails AYP for 4 years in a row, they enter into corrective action improvement status, where they must provide both choice and supplementary services, as well as to choose one of the following corrective action: replace with responsible staff, implement a new curriculum, decrease a school's management authority, appoint an external expert to advise the school, or restructure the internal organization of the school. Lastly, and most importantly, if schools fail AYP for 5 years or more, which out of that 9, there's a couple of schools in there that is approaching that, they must implement one of the following: charter, close it and reopen the school as a public charter school. Reconstitution, replacing school staff, including the principal relevant to the failure in the school. Contracting with an outside entity to operate the school. State takeover, turning the school operations over to the state education agency, and any other major governance structure engaging in another form of major restructuring that makes fundamental change. As a follow-up to our inquiry of April 11, 2017, the superintendent's response of April 20, 2017, please submit an inquiry to the superintendent for response as to: 1, please identify the consecutive time period of all 20 individual schools not meeting AYP related to year 2, year 3, and year 5. 2, please identify the corrective plans of actions which are in place and or will be implemented relating to these schools affected by the 2, 3, and 5-year requirement implemented by the superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. We'll get to that after the meeting, please. it's fine, but, procedure-wise for the board, we typically don't ask or, answer any questions from the public.
I was reading from, I was wondering if
Okay.
you have a clarification on that.
Point of clarity, Mr. Jackson, please, could you repeat, what you were reading from?
Actually, those were my notes, but I'm actually taking excerpts from the DESI's law as it relates to accreditation in AYP.
And you left copies, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
we have copies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jackson.
Currently existing law?
For the existing law.
Thanks.
Now, that will change if the House votes with the Senate this month.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jackson. We now have Mrs. Megan Betts.
Hi, my name is Megan Betts, and I'm a parent of a kindergartner at Columbia Elementary. And I just wanted to bring attention to the board about the current situation with the gifted program at Columbia Elementary. My son attended there last year for pre-K, and it was amazing. My son is, he turned 5 last July, so he's a young kindergartner right now. He tested at, most recent STAR testing was almost 4th grade reading level and almost 2nd grade math level. Last year we knew that Columbia, we did not know that they were transitioning to gifted for elementary, so we pulled him out and put him in a charter school, which was not able to challenge him. So we ended up, I pulled him out of school in December and had him tested for gifted downtown. He did not pass, but I was able to speak with the gifted director, and they said that he missed it by like 1 or 2 questions, that he wasn't really acting right in the testing, and they had some issues there, which I have heard from other parents is maybe, for me personally, I believe that the testing should be reevaluated for the younger students. But I was able to, they made it able for him to go to Columbia, so he started in December. The class had 6 students. The class currently has, I think it's 12 students now. None of them are gifted according to SLPS standards. There was one, but she left. Most recently, a month ago, the regular kindergarten classroom teacher was fired, and those kids were transferred into the gifted classroom, which caused a lot of change in the children's behavior. Those kids, so the teacher is now having to teach children that are not even at kindergarten level, while she's supposed to be teaching 1st grade level. So my son is not getting taught what he's supposed to be taught. That is why we put him in a gifted program. I chose not to send him to Kennard nor Mallinckrodt because I believe that the 2 best schools in the city do not reflect the racial makeup of the children that go to school in the city of St. Louis. And so we made the conscious decision to not send him to those schools when it wasn't, those schools were not benefiting children of color. So with Columbia opening, we were very excited. It's right down the street from where we live, but I don't believe that there is attention to what is currently happening at that school with the gifted program. There is much more I want to talk about, but can't really say it here. But I am concerned. I would like for support as a parent there. I'm going to be honest with you. I will be pulling him out of Columbia. I am trying to get him the sticks right now because the environment is not. If I'm sending my child to a gifted program, he should be getting a gifted education, and that is not happening currently at Columbia. And I just think that y'all should be aware of that as the school continues to progress with this transition. Thank you.
Ms. Betts, thank you so much for addressing our board with your concerns this evening. Be sure that before you leave, you get your contact information, okay? Thank you. And that will now conclude our public comments. We will now move on to the approval of our board agenda for May 9th, 2017. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Susan Jones.
Yes.
Dorothy Rhodey Collins.
Yes.
Natalie Vowell. Catherine Westland.
The motion is passed. Thank you, Ms. Jones. All right, we will now move on to approval of minutes of previous sessions, 4/11/2017. Now, typically our documents are due a week out, and I know that many of you who arrived here a few minutes before 7 have not had a chance to review the minutes for last month as it just came out. And so I'm going to ask that we table this until you have time to look through this document and make a proper vote. Okay, so we're going to suspend this item. Mr. Haas.
Will we email a copy of these?
So I think I checked this evening, we got them late. So just, like I said, to make an informed vote about these minutes, I'd just like to go ahead and table it and make a motion that we table the minutes.
Last I checked my email, I didn't have a copy of them, but if it hasn't arrived yet, soon perhaps. Definitely before next month.
Thank you, Mr. Haas. Ms. Charlie Dixon.
Just some clarification, so, on the agenda it says we're going to, okay. Are we going to approve next time the meeting minutes for March and April, or just April?
Yes, we'll have to because we haven't had a chance to approve them.
Okay.
I mean, to look over the documents. I'm sorry, Ms. Cooksey. Mr. Haas.
Just for clarification, we have in front of us the minutes for March 14th. So are we leaving those go till next month also?
Because that's an amended copy, so again, we haven't had a chance to actually go through that. So we're actually having to review 2 months worth of minutes. And so I'd like for us to table that, make a vote for that, and then perhaps take that to a work session.
I'm with you.
I'd like to make a motion that we suspend agenda item number 6. Natalie Vowell seconds that motion. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Charlie Cooksey.
Yes.
Bill Hart.
Sure.
Donna Jones.
Yes.
Susan Jones.
Yes.
Dorothy Rhodey Collins.
Yes.
Natalie Vowell.
Yes.
Catherine Westland.
Yes.
Motion.
The motion is passed. Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item number 7, resolutions to present. The first resolution that we have tonight stems from our work session that we had a couple of weeks ago to talk about our meeting times. And as you all know, our typical meeting time is at 7 p.m., but we got a consensus at our last work session that 6:30 would be a better time for board members to meet also. I know that you missed that, Mr. Haas. Also,
I'll let you know if that changes.
no problem. In terms of us working to transition back over the district, we are working to align ourselves within the same practices as a governing board right now. And so you have a copy of the resolutions in front of you, and the first one is the meeting times to be changed to 6:30 p.m.
Are you sure we have a?
Okay, she will now pass them out.
That's what.
The verbiage in the resolution is, be it resolved, whereas effective July 2017, the St. Louis Elected Board of Education meeting shall begin at 6:30 every second Tuesday. And I'm looking to have this adopted by our board as of this evening. Are there any questions or concerns? Mr. Hines.
Well, as we all know, not only am I old, but I've been around for a while. And for the 20-year span, I've been on the board.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been 7. I think part of that was to accommodate people who want to come visit,
Mm-hmm.
give them time to get home and dinner and still get here. I'm sure there was a vigorous and constructive discussion at the working session, and that this was agreed upon for good cause. So two things, a question, is it anticipated, generally they've been 2 hours, is it anticipated that they'll still go to 9, so it gives us more time? Or is it anticipated that we'll still try to fit it? They haven't always been within 2 hours, but that's generally the goal. Is it still anticipated that it'll be 2 hours, or this gives us more time and still adjourn at a reasonable hour?
This gives us more time and also allows us to leave at a reasonable hour. Also, times, in the winter time, it gets dark very early, and so we were considering that. And, just to stay in line with the practices of moving the meeting earlier, because we wouldn't be meeting at 7 if we were governing over the district right now. So we're just, like I said, working to align ourselves.
Say that last part again, if we were governing the district, we
Would not be meeting at 7 p.m.
wouldn't be?
No. The meetings start before that.
Whose meetings start before that?
The appointed board
Oh,
of the district, yes. So as we're working, yes, to align ourselves.
Well, they do. So my, reasonable people can differ on this.
Mhm.
My only thought is whether this is part of the bylaws this time that would require a bylaw change. If it requires a bylaw change, there's a little different procedure than just a resolution, and probably a higher vote required. So, if we haven't yet looked in the bylaws to see if that 7 p.m. is in the bylaws, maybe we can or should. I'm not trying to unscramble the egg, I'm just observing. We haven't looked in the bylaws to see if the 7 o'clock is, the appointed board isn't bound by the bylaws exactly as much,
No.
but we might be.
We can create our norms for this board.
Say that again?
We can create our norms for this board.
If it's not set by the bylaws. To do that, we need a bylaw change. Well, that's just my observation.
I don't think that's clear. I'd like to do a point of information by Mrs. Kate Wesley. Does this information have to be up under a bylaw?
I don't believe it's in the bylaws, but I'm double checking.
Okay, thank you for that. Are there any other questions or concerns about the time change? And so once we gather that information, we will go ahead and I'll make the motion to accept, and we will take a vote. Mr. House?
Is this one vote for both of these?
No, it's separate. They're separate. I just didn't want to have to use more paper. And also, our meetings would be shorter if we begin it at 6:30, because we, as you see up under this resolution, there's a resolution to have a work session every 4th Tuesday of the month. So as we meet more consistently, there'll be less conversation in our regular board meetings, and we'll just have basically yes or no votes and move on with the schedule. So we won't be here a long time. Yeah, Ms. Wesley?
The bylaws simply state that the meeting will happen on the first Tuesday. It does not clarify the time.
First.
It does say first.
Really?
It says a monthly administrative meeting on the first Tuesday, a monthly regular business meeting on the second Tuesday,
This is the regular
And-
business,
Mhm.
not the administrative. The administrative means like the board meeting.
yes. And the meeting date, time, and place may be changed by majority vote, but there is no time specified in the bylaws.
Thank you.
So there is no time in the bylaws.
All right, thank you for that, Mrs. Wesley. If there are no further questions or concerns, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we change the time for our monthly meetings for the elected board of education to be 6:30 p.m. every second Tuesday, beginning July 2017. Ms. Charlotte Kirksey?
Do I speak after the motion?
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. Oh, second.
Thank you, Ms. Kirksey.
So, this looks like it takes effect in June, so do we want to say that this schedule begins June 9th instead of July 28th?
I'm lost.
Am I looking at the wrong? So at the bottom of the schedule, it says the planned schedule, please note that this is the planned schedule beginning July 28th.
Oh, you're looking at, that's a separate document outside of this, so we're gonna go over that in our work session. Those are just proposed meeting dates and times, so we can change that in the work session.
So this is not connected to the,
No, not right now.
okay, yeah.
We'll vote on that in the next meeting, though. right, seeing no further questions or concerns, I'd like to get a roll call vote, please.
I have one more question, I apologize.
Mr. Harris?
This says it starts July, so is there some reason it doesn't start next month?
Yes, because we've already have meetings, set until June, as well as the time posted online, and so,
I got it.
yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. This is Ernestine Jones.
Charlie Cushing,
I,
Bill Hunt,
Sure.
Donna Jones,
Yes.
Susan Jones,
Yes.
Dorothy Brody Collins,
Yes.
Natalie Vowell, Catherine Westland.
yes.
Motion passed for the township.
All right, the motion has passed. We will now conduct our monthly meetings, beginning July 2017 at 6:30 every second Tuesday of the month. We will now move on to the second resolution, which is under work sessions, and it's basically under the same premises as I discussed earlier. We talked about this at our work session, and in order for us to meet at a more effective time, instead of trying to figure out when the next time our board is going to meet, we decided that we would set a date that worked for our board. Now, if it happens to change, then that's fine, but we will have a set date, which would be every fourth Tuesday of each month at 6:30, that we will meet to discuss board business. And so, I will go ahead and read it for those of you who do not have an agenda. Be it resolved, whereas the elected Board of Education shall host work sessions every fourth Tuesday of each month at 6:30 p.m. And I'm looking for this to be adopted by the St. Louis Elected Board of Education at our board meeting this evening. I'd like to know if there are any questions or concerns about this.
We should have a motion before the discussion.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept this resolution.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Haas. Yes.
As Ms. Westland just read, in the bylaws, there's an administrative meeting on the first Tuesday.
Mhm.
So this is sort of like an administrative meeting, but we're doing it on a different day. I don't care, I don't think it's that important. We should just keep in mind that perhaps when we regain governance, this one might be moved, might be then called an administrative meeting instead of a working session, and we would move it to either that Monday or change the bylaw if we thought the fourth Tuesday was more working.
Point taken. Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Charlie Cushing,
I,
Bill Hunt,
Sure.
Donna Jones,
Yes.
Susan Jones,
Yes.
Dorothy Brody Collins,
Yes.
Natalie Vowell, Catherine Westland. Motion has passed for.
The motion is passed for our new date, day of the month for work sessions. Thank you, team. All right, and so I did receive the correspondence from Mr. Bill Haas in regards to the resolution reflecting the personal property tax increase. And so when that was initially sent, it was more so, in my opinion, under our new business because it wasn't in the form of a resolution.
Yes.
And so, the last email said that it was a resolution.
Thank you for that respect.
Mhm.
I'm okay with it where it is. Part of it because we've approved the agenda already, and that's where it is. And I think I may jump the gun a little bit, hoping it might pass tonight. But I'll still say that when I speak to it, I hope it's something we can talk about soon.
Very good.
Thank you for that respect.
Thank you, Mr. Haas. We will now move on to number 8, which is unfinished business. No agenda items under that this evening. We will now move on to agenda item number 9, reports of the following order. Number 1 is board president, myself, and so we begin talking about the meeting schedule, which every last board member has a copy of the proposed meeting schedule in front of you. This isn't a document that I'm looking for discussion on tonight. It's more so for information purposes, and I'm looking for us to discuss this in our next work session. So this should provide you adequate time to look through the schools that I have proposed and for you to propose any that should be replaced with anything that I've already put on this list. I have on here legislative update, none at this time, and also board training. So as it relates to board training, those of you who expressed interest in the 2017 Leadership Summit for MSBA, I believe you all received that email about the expenses that were paid by the district, and the only thing that we are needing to do is just to work on the transportation piece. But other than that, we are all set to go with the Leadership Summit. And also under this, I would like to go ahead and have Dr. Adams, actually, I apologize. We're going to finish up our board member reports, and then after that, we'll have a presentation by Dr. Adams about student conduct and technology. So I will go ahead and start with Ms. Vowell next to me here. Do you have any board member reports?
Yes. Quincy and myself have been working on a social media plan to be incorporated as part of our communications plan in an effort to reach out to more of the community who may not be able to attend meetings. We have come up with some tentative policies as well as an overall strategy that we intend to speak about at the next working session. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I can just reiterate what she said. So, based on our work session meeting, for context, Mr. Haas, we started to discuss an idea that Susan brought to us about Dr. Adams doing the live video chat via Facebook. And that sparked a new conversation about us formalizing our presence through social media. So we discussed having different social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, potentially Instagram, and then as a result, Ms. Val and I were called to develop some policies, some processes, and some ideas around implementing that social media strategy. A lot of the work was already developed by Ms. Val, and then we just worked together to refine it a little and update it.
And I want to thank you ladies for your leadership on that. You guys did a really amazing job on all the information that you put together. Ms. Val?
Just one added update is we do have some things in testing right now. So they're in the testing phase. As Ms. Cooksey and I continue, we would like to or get input.
All right, very good. Thank you. Mr. Haas?
A question on where we are on the agenda. What happened to legislative update and board training? Are we talking about those later in the meeting? Or?
So when I spoke about legislative update, I said no update at this time.
Fair enough.
And then
Sorry.
board training, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
And when I spoke about board training, I addressed the 2017 Leadership Summit for the elected board. So
I got it. Thank you.
no problem. All right, Mr. Haas, do you have a board member report?
I do not.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Westman? All right, thank you. Ms. Cooksey?
No report.
All right, and yours is pretty much the same as Natalie, so thank you again.
I do have a question still about your report.
Sure.
So, for the board training, I was wondering if there are any updates on us having a collective board training / team building experience, and if not, should we table that to be like at the top of the agenda for our work session?
Yes, and that's what my plan was. I didn't want to do that at our official meeting, so yes, that will be a part of the discussion. But thank you for mentioning that.
That's
Okay. Ms. Westman, I'm sorry. This is Rhodey Collins.
No report.
Thank you very much. All right, and Ms. Jones?
Not at this time.
And also, I forgot to add that this past weekend, part of my board member report and my board member duties in this community, I hosted a community conversations at a coffee house, Sunk Coffee, and basically residents from the community came and met with me, and we talked about and had really raw discussion about St. Louis Public Schools. And basically those conversations were all about those constituents, but I did that because it's so important that we not only have these meetings, but that we're doing our jobs outside of these meetings to work with our communities, to hear what they have to say so that we can make the right decisions on behalf of this board and also the children moving forward in this district. So I would say that was really successful, and I would invite any other board member who would like to join me next time when I host one, or if you want to host one, to have those conversations with the community, because they definitely appreciate that. Mr. Haas.
Where was the one that you are speaking of?
I chose, it was in South St. Louis, I believe in the Cherokee area called Sump Coffee. But the idea would be to just go to different coffee houses, and that's just something I chose to do across the city of St. Louis, so that they know that we are here, and our presence is felt as the elected board, so that we can work to have their voices heard. You're welcome. All right, now that we have, Mr. Cooksey?
So just some clarification, that was a coffee and conversation that you hosted as Susan Jones or on behalf of the elected board?
No, not on behalf of the elected board, so board member reports just speaking on my behalf. That's something that I was doing in the community, so I always encourage members on this board to be as active as possible, because I even noticed around election time, many people don't know that there are two boards, and they don't know that we are still in existence. So in order for us to keep that up, in order for us to get more support for governance back over this district, we're going to have to get out into the community and have these conversations. And so that was the reason for that. Mr. Haas.
Did we receive, this isn't a complaint, it's just a question.
Mm-hmm.
Did we receive notice that you were gonna host that?
No, and
I'd like one.
sure. So those are my social media, but actually next time I do it, I'll make sure that you guys have it. And again, you are invited, as long as we don't have a quorum, to come and sit down and have coffee and have the discussions with the community.
Quorum should be okay as long as we don't vote on anything.
We'll have that discussion, Mr. Haas. We'll talk about it. We have work sessions for those when the public's invited.
It's an interesting issue for just not allowing it to the public.
No. Thank you, Mr. Haas. All right, we will now go ahead and move into the presentations by Dr. Adams. And if you guys can, please go ahead and sit in the front row, because we'll have to let down.
So we're leaving the business go for the moment.
For the moment, yes, and then we'll be back to finish up the meeting.